And it looks right. That's weird.
So I just, when I hit stop sharing, it'll show me.
Yeah.
So I'll. We'll get started in just 1 minute. Hello, everyone. This is Jessie Underwood with Chief of Staff, and welcome to our HOA today. Wanted to thank you for joining us. We're going to be using Google, obviously, for the presentation today. So bear with us. We're learning, and hopefully you will be able to gain some great information and walk away with a great way to improve your employment brand for your company. I'm going to go ahead and get started on the presentation. So here we go. So to get started, wanted to just let you know that if you have any questions throughout, you can ask through the Q&A session on the HOA. So if you, for some reason, have any questions and you aren't able to use the Q&A, I know we're all learning here, feel free to email me, and I will be sure to check the email from my phone at the Q&A session at the end. So, and then also this presentation will be on YouTube and our Google Plus page, all of that, so you'll be able to view it later if you need to. Starting out, your culture is your brand. This is from the CEO of Zappos, which I will talk a lot about Zappos today. They're a company that is doing this right, and there's a lot of different aspects to their employment brand that seep into the company as a whole. So more and more, you will learn that your employment brand really is your brand as a company, that there really isn't much that would separate the two. So essentially, the definition of an employment brand is your corporate reputation, what people think about your company, what they especially think about it is like to work for your company. So this is something that every company needs to be aware of. If you aren't out there telling people what it's like, then someone else will. And I'm going to show you some examples of how this is happening already. And then there's a lot of statistics that show in terms of the company performance is directly related to that employment brand and the satisfaction that your employees have working at your company, and how that impacts your overall performance. So, and one thing that people might not think about with their employment brand, they might only think about it as people that are currently working for your company, but you also need to be cognizant of those that are interviewing with your company, because they are sharing that information with people they know, they're sharing it online. There's a lot of insight now as to the process, the interview process for your company that people are sharing. And then it also goes all the way to past employees, whether they left on good terms or bad terms. They are talking about what it was like to work for your company, and they are your walking brand, especially, we're talking about people not only that if they've retired, but if they've left your company to go work somewhere else. You just need to be aware that your brand is really everywhere there. And there's some few factors when people talk about why they work somewhere that or what it's like to work for a certain company that really shine through as the most important. First of which is the culture and values, which we'll talk a lot about. Compensation and benefits is a big reason why people would leave their company or a job. Work-life balance, the leadership of the company, the CEO, just the overall direction of the company, and then growth opportunities within. So the impression that candidates have, whether they are currently working there or wanting to work there in terms of growth and opportunities to move up. So the first thing that I would recommend is that you take your pulse and go out, Google your company. It's hopefully your website will show up, but there might be other areas or other places where your company is featured. And just like you would do your own personal self, you want to make sure you know what people are saying about your company. And this isn't just on, Google. You'd want to go onto social media. You would want to go onto Facebook and things like that, because if someone's saying something about you on Facebook, even if you're not tagged, it is still searchable and people can find that information. You want to obviously look at your website. It's a big resource for candidates and people that are looking to potentially work for you, where they're going to really feel like they can learn about what it's like to work for your company. Another thing that I would recommend is that you would survey your current employees and applicants, making sure that you know why they work for you, why they work for your company. This is one thing that when we meet with employers, and I will typically meet with a business owner or even a head of HR, and I ask them, why do you work here? And sometimes they're kind of taken aback, like they're always sitting there talking about all the bells and whistles of the company, but they've never really had to answer themselves, why do you personally work here? And those are the reasons that might not be on your website, or they might not necessarily be advertised, but they are the real motivators for people that you want to make sure you advertise. And kind of going along with that, I wanted to bring up the fact that there is something to be said for the fact that now, everybody knows typically who works for your company. There's all sorts of ways through LinkedIn that you're all connected if you work under the same employer, which I'll show you an example of. And you really have to, talking about your employment brand, sometimes you need to take that step back before you build it and say, do my employees reflect my ideal employment brand? Are these people that I would want to carbon copy if I could and hire more of? Because if you're, for example, trying to target, conservative, experienced engineer, let's say, and you have a team of, young entry-level, wild, fun candidates or employees, then that engineer might not necessarily feel like that's the right culture fit. So you want to make sure that, whoever it is you're attracting, you kind of show that your reflection or that your culture will fit that individual. So moving on. So social media, I mentioned before, is a big way that you want to make sure that your company has the correct employment brand. As much as you can. Obviously, social media has a mind of its own. People can say anything and everything, but you really need to make sure to monitor that. Glassdoor, if you're not familiar, is a website that candidates, especially people that are looking for jobs, will utilize to research a company. And it's not their website, so that you get a lot of candid information about the company. People that actually work there are going on, writing reviews, talking about the CEO and their approval rating. They talk about what it was like to interview there. They rate their compensation and benefits. So if you have not looked up your company on Glassdoor, I would say you need to do that immediately after this webinar. the other thing that you need to be cognizant on is if you're not on Glassdoor, what does that say? If you're a smaller company, but you are growing and you're going to be recruiting more and more, people will go to Glassdoor to look for you. And it is free for you as a company to go on and create that profile. So make sure you do that. And then the other thing you'd want to look at is who do you compete with for talent, and what does their Glassdoor page say, and what are the employees there? What are their complaints? Because that might be a good selling point for you as a recruiter or someone that is looking to potentially hire someone from those competitors. If you know that they're working long hours and you would be able to offer somebody more of a flexible work schedule, or if you know that they don't feel like they're paid well, then you can actually come in and talk about salary. So it gives you a lot of great insight. So the LinkedIn page and your employees are attached to that. So that's one thing you want to make sure you do. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do this real quick. So bear with me here. All right, so hopefully you can see what I see. I went to my LinkedIn profile, and if you actually go down to the company name or the logo, either one, and you click on it, it'll take you to my Chief of Staff company page, or at least it should, but right now it's thinking about it. And what you'll see over here, so first of all, if you don't have a company page on LinkedIn, I would recommend that as well. But over here, it has 9 employees on LinkedIn, so which is interesting because I have 5 employees. But so this is what I'm saying. You want to make sure, because people that are researching your company and potentially want to work there, they are looking at this. They are easily finding, okay, do I fit in with the people that are working at Chief of Staff or whatever the company is? And you can also see that there's some people on here that do not work for Chief of Staff, and that would be something that would be of concern. So you want to just be cognizant of the fact that this is something people can see. So going back, we do your Facebook page. You want to make sure not to ignore that. There's a lot of companies out there that, mostly retail organizations that are servicing consumers. They'll get a lot of, comments or negative feedback on there. And that's something that you would want to make sure you address and don't just ignore it. And then if you have any kind of company blog or any other place that allows feedback, again, you just can't put it up and then let it go, because people will notice if things are outdated and not being cared for. So here's an example of Glassdoor. Everybody knows Cerner, so I wanted to use them as an example. They rank overall a 3.5, which is the average on Glassdoor. So you'll see right here that there's 721 reviews. So this is a lot. I mean, most companies have, maybe 10 or 20. But being Cerner, they have a lot of employees, a lot of past employees, so they have quite a few reviews. They also have over 2,000 people that have reported on what they're making, so people can very quickly search, okay, if I'm in marketing or if I'm a salesperson or whatever their specific job type is, they can see what they would make at Cerner. A lot of this is just, out there for people to see. The other really thing that is important to note that people are talking about and, information being shared online is interviews. So if you have a candidate come in that is has a bad experience with a hiring manager, or for whatever reason aren't treated correctly in that interview process, they can go right over to Glassdoor and talk about it. The other thing that it does is help. So if I'm a candidate and I am unsure of what the process is like when I'm interviewing at Cerner, I can go read these reviews, and it gives me a little bit of insight. Okay, this person interviewed for months before they were hired, or this person met with 5 different people on one interview. So it kind of helps give people a little bit of information. Here's another company here locally that doesn't have as good of a rating. And honestly, it doesn't always mean that the company is doing something wrong. Maybe they just aren't aware of this, aren't controlling it. But it is something that honestly, we've had candidates that we're working with, we're sending them on an interview to a client and they call us back and they said, you know, I just read about them on Glassdoor and I don't even know if this is a place I want to work. Turns out this particular instance, it wasn't even the right company that they had found, but that just goes to show you need to make sure that not only is your correct company on there, but you're, you know, in a way doing whatever you can, whether it's encouraging your employees to leave reviews or answering or replying to some of the ones that are on there. Because, you know, you wouldn't want to have obviously a negative review out there on Glassdoor. But so what now? What would you want to start to do? What I would recommend is, again, starting with that, with your internal team, doing a survey, whether it comes from HR or marketing or the leadership team. You definitely want to encourage candor and them sharing, you know, the true reasons why they work there. You know, there might be something like you're sitting there touting that you have great benefits, but really your employees love the fact that they can wear jeans to work every day, and they like the fact that they don't have to work on their birthday. They get their birthday off every year. There's some companies that do that. I mean, there's just random things that you might not realize are a big deal, but your employees really treasure. So you want, doing a survey kind of gives you that insight. And then, you know, it could also go the other way where you, you know, get a little bit of negative feedback or, you know, constructive criticism, we would say, that can help, you know, you improve what that employment brand is and help you attract better quality candidates. And you just, you know, overall want to share that experience of working for you. The other thing that I would say is to keep your brand fresh, make sure you're updating these things. At the very least, I mean, Glassdoor recommends annually, but I think it really should be more than that if you have the resources and are able to. So transparency is key. We've talked a little bit about that, but just making sure that you actually list the pros and cons. So if you are working long hours, but the compensation is competitive, just say that. If you potentially have an office that isn't that exciting, you can talk about that, but the pros of the working here are X, Y, Z. The other thing I would say, oh, I don't have it in full mode.
Right.
Okay. So the other thing I would say is, write it down, yeah. Don't use any more stock photos. Is it not on the presentation?
Right. Yeah. It's on your LinkedIn profile instead of the presentation. Because
Mm.
when you go back to the HOA, go back to share screen.
Hi, how are ya? Okay. Sorry about that. Bear with me here.
You can see, and then so every time you switch screens, we need to do share screen to a different one.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it would just follow you from your LinkedIn.
But it's not giving my presentation as an option.
Looking at them.
Mm-mm. Sorry, hold on. I'll find you. No, it's not on there. All right. Go see if it's on. It's delayed too.
Right.
Do you want to see if it's on?
Sorry.
It should be seeing something now.
Oh yeah, it switched. Now it looks like that telescope vision that you had. And now it's on your SAV. Okay, yeah.
All right. Sorry about that. All right, so we're good to go. So I shared the Cerner page on Glassdoor. So I'm sorry that you weren't able to see this, but essentially here's where they show the reviews like I talked about. Here's where they show the salaries. And then there's the interviews and all of the people that gave feedback as to what that was like. The NASB page, they have a lower rating, 3.5 is the average. They don't have very many reviews. They obviously have a lot more employees than that. So I would definitely encourage them to have their current employees go out there, because it looks like they have some people that probably are maybe a little disgruntled, and you wouldn't want only those people representing your brand. And again, we just talked about this, but in case you want to see it along with, starting with your internal team, doing a survey, sharing that experience of working with your company and making sure you do it pretty frequently. All right, and so your website is a big way for you to showcase what it is like to work for your company, spelling out the pros and the cons. If it's too, everything's hunky-dory, people might be a little bit weary of that. So it almost just serves you better to actually tell people up front some of the cons of working for your company. Do not use stock photos. You would definitely want to show real pictures of your employees. If you guys are doing any fun events or happy hours or anything, you'd want to make sure you're taking photos of those and putting them actually on your website. Your team page, it's really, this is something that's so important, is having that team page, having pictures of the people that actually work there, and then showcasing the benefits, making sure that, you spell out some of the reasons why you'd want to work there. Here, I want to show you real quick. This is RedNova Labs, and this is their benefit page. It might be hard to read some of the actual information, but you'll see down at the bottom that they talk about Fancy Fridays, where they have kind of a college student dress code during the week, but then on Fridays they dress up to show their dignified sides. I mean, that's just kind of fun and something different that you definitely want to talk about. They also have a professional chef coming in on Fridays. That's really cool. It's not something you see very often. And even under here, the key location, it's kind of funny. They put that our office is just minutes away from downtown Westport, Plaza, Brookside, Waldo, and most importantly, Chipotle. So, I mean, just things like that. It's just not your typical content. And so I think it's impressive to have things that people don't see every day. I talked earlier about transparency and making sure that you address every compliment and complaint, whether it's on your website or social media. One company that does a good job of that is 1-800-CONTACTS. They actually, I did an example. This is directly from their Facebook page, where you can see someone says, obviously, a negative review. And if you want to see how they address it, they didn't just ignore it. They didn't delete it, which is even worse. They actually did a really good job of saying, hey, you know what, we're going to make it right, and private message us. We're going to take care of you. And statistics show that 65% of the time, when you actually address someone's negative complaint, especially publicly, that impression is that there's no negative impression that's ever made. So if people can see that you're fixing it, then they really respect that, and you don't do damage to your brand as if you hadn't addressed it at all. So another couple things that you can kind of track to make sure that this is working. If you get employee referrals, and that really is your best sign that you're doing a good job with your employment brand and people like working for you. If you have a hard time getting people to, obviously some people don't want to work with people they know, but if they are advocating for people to work at your company, then you know that what you're doing is right. Your time to hire and your cost per hire will go down. A typical cost per hire is around $3,300. It's a very general number, but if you can evaluate what your specific cost per hire is, and if that starts to go down and the amount of time it takes to recruit goes down, these are all reasons why you would want to invest in your employment brand and make sure that it's a positive one. And then obviously your quality of hires will go up. So people that, will do a lot of research. So from the get-go, they kind of know if they are in the right culture for themselves. And so they're not necessarily going to apply if they don't feel like your company is right for them. And that's sometimes a good thing, that you're only getting people that are relevant to what kind of work you do. So a couple examples that I wanted to share locally, and then I'm going to show you some examples of other websites that do this really well. But there's one client that we have in town that has a really great employment brand from a standpoint of everyone that works there. I know the company intimately. I know a lot of their employees. They love working there. They have great videos. They've been given awards. But it says none of this on their website. And actually, I looked them up on Glassdoor, and there's another company that has the same name out on the East Coast that has many negative reviews. And I, was, I guess, aware enough that I saw, okay, this isn't even the same company. But if I was an applicant and I wasn't as necessarily informed about that company, then I might not know that. So again, you got to just make sure that, you're out there and that you have that free profile on Glassdoor. And make sure that you can kind of control at least what you can about what people are finding about you online. There is Centric Projects, which is a company here in town. They were in the Business Journal because they took all of their employees to one of the World Series games. Things like that. You don't have to necessarily be in the Business Journal, but if you're doing things that encourage that team building, honestly, just make your employees happier people. Yes, you want to put that on your website. You want to show pictures of that. You definitely want future applicants and employees to get a sense of that, work hard, play hard, giving back, all the things that you do. And I didn't talk much about it, but I meant to, which is the whole philanthropic side. If you are involved in volunteering or, doing things as a team, Habitat for Humanity or Operation Breakthrough or anything like that, you want to always talk about those things as well. So 3 companies that we probably all know that do this really well are GE, Zappos, and Southwest. So if you're a company, an employer that is starting from scratch and you want to at least just have an idea of where do I go to see who's already doing this and who I can kind of emulate, GE, Zappos, and Southwest are definitely ones that I would recommend. Zappos truly is the epitome of what it means to invest in employment branding and culture. If you go to look at their website, you have to become an insider. I'm going to walk you through this, but you have to become an insider to even learn about their open jobs. They don't list their open jobs. They don't have recruiters. They have ambassadors that essentially you can contact to talk about working there, but they don't call them recruiters. And then something that they've done for a long time that some people are starting to catch on to is the whole paying their employees to quit. If you're not familiar with this, you should Google it. It's awesome. Essentially what they do is they have people work for them. And then I believe it's after 90 days, they offer them $2,000 to quit. And what that does is shows them, if someone's not really happy here long term, then they're going to take it. And they also know that a disengaged employee ends up hurting their company and their culture overall, and they don't want them there. And employees that are engaged and happy and enjoying their job, they are not going to take $2,000 because in the grand scheme of things, they know that they will earn much more over their time working there, that it's not that easy to go get a job. So most of the time people do not take the offer, as they say. So let me just show you a few other things real quick. So again, bear with me. Hi there. While I try to take you over to these specific websites, and I'll show you. Okay, so hopefully you can see this. This is the Zappos career page. So first of all, you can see that they have, well, here, I want to take you to the first page first. So no job postings. What's up with that? You have to become an insider to learn about all their positions. So really, I mean, there's pages and pages and pages that you can play in here to get some good ideas of how you would want to brand your company. They have different job types. So I chose finance and accounting. Here they actually show all of their employees that are, working there. Real pictures, obviously. All sorts of pictures of their office, what's that looks like. Look, there's a team event. They're out drinking wine. That looks like fun. They talk about all the different positions, but again, no job postings. And then here, meet your finance and accounting ambassador. Book nerd, bingo winner, wine is my life, love my cat. I mean, just really some great fun insight to the actual employees that work there and what's that like. So, I mean, you're immediately attracted to this company. They seem fun. They seem to get it. The other thing that I wanted to show, another local company, RedNova Labs, who does this really well. This is their career page. So they talk about a number of degrees. I would say because they list that, that's probably something important. So they're kind of showing that without saying it. Countries that we traveled to, dogs we brought into the office, again, something just a random stat that shows you what kind of culture they have. And then look at this. So here's their employees. And then if you actually scroll over them, they have all these funny pictures. And I just think that's super fun. And you have an idea of, okay, look at the people that work there. This is, what they are showcasing as their employment brand. And I would say that's a really good one. So the last one I'll show you, it's just it's 13 minutes, but we're not going to watch the whole thing. I'll just show the first minute. Southwest Airlines, if you've ever flown on Southwest, you understand what a good job they do of incorporating their culture and their employment brand with actual how well the company does and what they want to be known for. So.
At Southwest Airlines, we're united by a purpose that is at the heart of everything we do. It's the simplest and purest expression of why we exist. Our purpose at Southwest Airlines is clear. We exist to connect people to what's important in their lives through friendly, reliable, and low-cost air travel. This purpose is why we get up every morning and why we matter to the millions of people who fly with us each year. And if we live this purpose every day, we'll achieve our vision to become the world's most loved, most flown, and most profitable airline. But it all starts with you.
All right. So let me get this out of here, and then I'm going to open it up for questions. So let me see what we've got over here. So what about small companies that may not hire but once in a blue moon? Should they still dedicate a page as to why you should work for, or would it be a waste of time? That's a good question. I don't think it would ever be a waste of time to invest in your company page on your website, because not only does this impact the people that you would potentially want to hire or recruit for in the future, but this would also impact people that want to work with you in general, clients, vendors. I mean, everybody kind of wants to understand who it is they're working with. So investing a little bit of time into your team page to make sure that that culture is identified and that people know who they're talking to, know who they're working with, is an advantage for all aspects of your business, not just hiring. And, you know, at the same time, you never know when you're going to need to hire. You never know when you're going to need to make an effort to recruit. So you don't necessarily want to be starting from scratch at that point. You want the minute you have a job opening, people are able to go to your website, go to your social media pages, and kind of get a sense of who you are along the way. It seems pretty staged if, you know, they look at your social media profile and you literally just opened a page or just started. No one has posted on it since 2008. It kind of looks like, yeah, they didn't really care about that. So, all right. So somebody else asked, why can you not use stock photos? You obviously can. I just don't think that does you any favors in identifying what your employment brand is. If you want people to know what it is like to work for your company and what that culture is like and help improve that reputation, you need to actually show people who works there. Really, especially with Gen Y, Gen Z, all of these people, I mean, they, in the age of everything is kind of transparent and you know what's out there, putting up a stock photo just very much kind of seems like you're trying to put up a face that's not yours, which is in fact what you're doing. So I just wouldn't recommend it. All right, so someone asked me about subscribing to LinkedIn's premium business page and if that level was worth it. So a little off topic, but obviously I do think it's worth it because we use it quite a bit, not only from a recruitment standpoint, but from a business development standpoint, and you're able to see who's viewing your profile. You're able to use in-mails and a few other benefits that, you know, I don't work for LinkedIn, so I can't tell you exactly what it is, but I have always felt that it's good to have a premium account just because it gives you access to some additional features that you wouldn't have as a normal user. Is there any other questions right now before I close? Doesn't look like it. Let me just check my email real quick and make sure I didn't get any this way. All right, I think we're good. So thank you very much for joining us today, or me today. I hope you learned a little bit something about your employment brand and how it can help you and your company. And if you want any specifics, for example, if you want an email that you would send out to your employees asking them for feedback on your Glassdoor review, or even just internally, I'm happy to share with you those kinds of things. This will be on YouTube. It will be on our Google Plus page. So feel free to share and let us know if we can help you with anything specifically at Chief of Staff. Have a great day. Thank you.